In our 2024 lead, Vice President Kamala Harris is out with her very first official presidential campaign video with a direct dig at her opponent.
We choose freedom. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. We choose a future where no child lives in poverty, where we can all afford health care, where no one is above the law.
No one is above the law. My panel's here with me. A clear shot at Mr. Trump with his famous or infamous mugshot, depending on your point of view. What's your take on this?
I think it's a great starting spot. Obviously, it's a contrast ad, and I've seen some internal data that says when she's talking about the future versus the past and making the contrast, that is doing very well so far. So, and who doesn't like Beyonce?
Wow. Matt, we've seen a Trump. Well, there are people who don't like her.
I know. I'm just saying, it's fun. It's got energy and it's fun, and it's a laying out. Here's what my campaign is going to be about.
And Beyonce was quick to allow the use of that song. So, Matt, let me ask you. We've seen a Trump PAC release one ad against Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris, earlier this week. CNN is also reporting Trump's team is planning a series of negative TV ads attacking her. They'll focus on the border, focus on tying her to inflation. She is part of the Biden-Harris administration after all. What do you think is going to be the main line of attack beyond inflation and the border, which was already the line of attack against Biden?
Well, they're going to unearth the clips of her running for president in 2020. I mean, it's funny seeing some of the clips now, and obviously we all watched that campaign. We saw her campaign, but we're reminded of how far left she was trying to move to win that primary, to be able to gain a lane against Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and the rest of them. I mean, going after everything, saying no private health insurance, taking away good health care from middle-class families that way, saying that it's not a crime to actually cross the southern border when immigration is one of the #1 issues right now. Going as far as saying maybe we should consider restrictions on red meat. How many middle-class Americans are looking forward to throwing a burger on the grill this weekend? There's a whole host of those statements that she's made, and David McCormick was the first one out, U.S. Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, to string those all together. It's a reminder of, this is a former U.S. Senator from California, from San Francisco, who's now running for president. She has a record that's out of step with Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and they're going to remind voters of that.
So, Jeff, just in the last few minutes, Vice President Harris tweeted, quote, Trump agreed on a September 10th debate, and now appears he's backpedaling. Voters deserve to see the split screen that exists on a debate stage. I'm ready, so let's go. This comes after Trump did, in fact, suggest that he's not going to abide by that debate, which was supposed to be with Biden, on ABC News. But he was saying ABC News is not a fair forum, which I think is silly. And he's pushing for a debate on Fox instead. We should note, last time Mr. Trump ran for president, Fox was so pro-Trump in their coverage, they ended up having to pay a $787.5 million defamation suit because they were amplifying Trump's lies about the election. And one of their anchors, of course, leaned on the decision desk to flip Arizona from Biden to Trump and to slow walk Nevada. That's the fair network that Trump is pushing for. What do you think?
Look, I mean, I think there will be a debate. The Trump campaign said today, Jason Miller said there will be a debate. He's his communications director. Look, I think it's true that they agreed to a debate on ABC with Joe Biden. So, yeah. I mean, the former president is correct about that. It does sort of change the rules. My guess is if it ends up on Fox, the vice president will go on Fox and do a debate. We've seen fair Fox debates before in previous elections. They've drawn a distinction between some of the debate coverage and the opinion host, but we'll see. I mean, I think it's certainly in the vice president's interest to debate the former president. We'll see if it's in his, but it'd be hard to imagine after he was sort of goading in President Biden into debating if he suddenly wouldn't agree to it. Maybe she'll do what he did and take an empty podium around the country and say, come on, Donald, anytime, any place.
Which she should. I mean, how is anything but him looking like he's running like a scaredy cat, since we've been talking about women and cats, I'll use a cat frame this week, okay, I'm too afraid of ABC News. We have to go to Fox and we have to do it I mean, it just seems a little silly to me. It makes him seem like, what are you afraid of?
It doesn't make any sense, really. I mean, either, he was going to debate Biden on ABC News.
Yeah. And look, I think at the end of the day, he's going to debate. I mean, everyone here knows Donald Trump personally or from a distance. He is not afraid of his own skill. He doesn't underestimate his own
why
skill.
back off?
Honestly, I think at the end of the day, he's going to try to we may end up with more debates as a result.
That'd be great.
We had 2 debates scheduled between President Biden and President Trump. I wouldn't be shocked if this is actually an opportunity now to have more debates, maybe with ABC and Fox.
So there's this brand new New York Times Siena poll out this afternoon showing there's no clear leader in this head-to-head matchup between Trump and Harris. 48% of registered voters saying they support Trump, 46% Harris. He has a slight lead there, but it is within the margin of error. Much better than, look at that, that's a Trump 49, Biden 41. So, I mean, this is more of a competition.
Sure. And look, this is going to be a close election. It was going to be a close election certainly before the debate. And in fact, a lot of the numbers, at least at the top line, are looking very similar to the Biden-Trump head-to-head numbers pre-debate. And that's what we're seeing right now. Maybe the coalition's a little different. Trump's doing a little bit better now with older voters. Harris is doing a little bit better with younger voters than President Biden was. But ultimately, this is a close election. Both sides are likely to be pretty enthusiastic. But ultimately, despite what we've seen this week, and, Vice President Harris has had a pretty strong rollout, raised a lot of money, gotten a lot of favorable coverage. At the end of the day, she still is saddled with a record. And it's the Biden-Harris record, which voters right now are just soured on. They were soured on when it was Joe Biden, and they're soured on now when it's Kamala Harris. And that's why you're seeing Donald Trump still with a slight lead right now.
I would like to make just one quick plea to anybody who's out there supervising these polls. It'd be great if you could just do the battleground states, and it'd be great if you could do likely voters, not registered voters, because I find it difficult. Other than when you dig into the crosstabs, that's when you find the interesting stuff. But the head-to-head is relatively meaningless at this stage. Here's a crosstab that's interesting. Harris winning 56% of young voters to Trump's 38%. In the previous poll, it was Trump winning 48% to Biden's 40%. So there is something you can discern in there, even if it's not a complete predictor.
Well, and as I was saying before, I mean, again, I think young people see her. She is the future. She looks like the future, right? We have our future is much more multicultural, is more female. That is who she is. And I just want to say one thing about the record she inherited. I mean, today we had more phenomenal economic news. The economy is continuing to do well. Inflation down, 16 million jobs. And when it comes to immigration, let's not forget, she was also a border state governor, and she prosecuted transnational crime. She knows a thing or two about how to talk about those issues. And now that it's her at the top of the ticket, she will talk about her record and their record. And I would say, as much as they're going to try to use 2020 against her, she now has a 3.5-year record that she also deserves credit for, where credit is due.
Can I just add on the point you made about national polling? At the beginning of this race, we were all saying Donald Trump doesn't need to lead in national polls to win this election. He's lost the popular vote twice while still winning the Electoral College one time. And so if you actually look at Michigan, Pennsylvania, that's where these positions are going to be even more challenging for Vice President Harris on immigration, on a ban on fracking, energy policy, than is nationally. I mean, we always see in national polls a bit of a skew because of big metropolitan areas, Los Angeles,
California,
New York.
Yeah.
That skewed differently from the battleground states. And so that's what we should be looking
at. So, Jeff, this morning we saw Vice President Harris deliver the keynote address at the American Federation of Teachers National Convention, the AFT. For folks who don't know, it's the second largest teachers union in the country, one of the most powerful in the country. Take a listen.
Project 2025 is a plan to return America to a dark past. Donald Trump and his extreme allies want to take our nation back to failed trickle-down economic policies. But we are not going back. We are not going back.
This is part of what Karen was just talking about, her positioning herself as the future, Donald Trump as the past. It's a lot easier to do that if you're not the incumbent president and you're not 81 years old.
For sure. I mean, before there was effectively an incumbent president running against an incumbent president. Now she can break out of that to an extent. She still owns, obviously, the Biden administration record, but those few words there say a lot. We're not going back. It sort of talks about age. It reminds people of the Trump administration. So I think we're going to hear a ton of that. Back to polling for 1 second. When you look into these numbers, they're not intended to be predictors, as you know, but some of these are interesting subgroups. We're going to see what the Harris coalition looks like. And as Matt was saying, younger voters in this, the one that jumped out to me is that she does considerably better among younger voters. We will see, but this is a new start for the the campaign. So we just have to wait and see what battlegrounds sort of come into play. But we know demographically, by groups, younger voters seem to be more energized.
Yeah, although as Matt points out, older voters that you don't want to give them.
They're showing up every election because they vote.
They tend to vote more reliably than younger ones. Thanks to one and all. Appreciate it.